After much deliberation, I have decided to kick off this encouraging and uplifting holiday sermon with a short list of cold, hard truths. Number 1, the winter holidays are wrapping up this week just in time for what I usually consider the 3 coldest, grayest, most depressing months of the year. Number 2, the coming of the new year is not some kind of magical passage into the land of possibility. It simply means we have slid the bead on the abacus of arbitrary date counting and have to remember to write 2020 instead of 2019 on our checks. Number 3, the challenges we faced in 2019 will more than likely continue to be present in our lives as we cross into 2020. And now a warmer, softer truth. The blessings which sustained us in 2019 will also more than likely continue to be present as we cross into 2020. No, we do not get to hit an off switch on the universe when the ball drops at midnight and then start over with the first Monday of Genesis in the morning. All creation, no continuation. But those moments of human recognition do have meaning in our lives. So how can we embrace the realities and also use the turning of the year as a little springboard for change in our lives? I think a lot of classic New Year's resolutions are really no's disguised as yeses. I'll get a gym membership could also be seen as I won't be out of shape anymore. I'll get my work or school work done on time stands for I'll stop procrastinating. Get organized hides be less disorganized. And quit smoking is not even pretending. Culturally, whether we know it consciously or not, we tend towards quite a lot of running from behaviors. Let me picture it for you. Running from a charging rhino is better than standing still. But better still is running towards a waiting helicopter, which can whisk you away from all approaching rhinos. We have identified our rhinoceri, in this case, poor health, procrastination, habitual vices, but now I want to challenge us all to lift our eyes and check the horizon for helicopters. Or, in straightforward language, what do you want to be running towards? Let me fix my face 1 second. Stop booming at you. All right. I would venture to suggest, thinking practically, that a good method for identifying your metaphorical helicopters is to consider what has lifted you up in the recent past. Those things that sustained you this past year are pretty good points to consider what to cultivate in the coming year. Taking my dog to the park on Sunday afternoons was great for us both. Maybe I can keep doing that. Or maybe I can add in a Wednesday visit too, and maybe a friend would like to join us. I need to change images a little bit to bring us around to the service theme. So now is a good time to remember that holiday of Hogmanay, which I talked about earlier. We've covered reading and singing the house and singing of Auld Lang Syne, but there's another tradition that I want to mention. In Scotland on New Year's Eve, thousands of people line the streets to join in the annual torchlight processional. It's quite a festive moment, which would not be nearly so bold without a simple object: torches. And that got me thinking. The torches carried in the procession, those pictured on your program, had to come from somewhere. This year's torches were manufactured in 2019. They were distributed in 2019. They will be handed out and set ablaze in 2019 to prepare for the processional lighting the first moments of 2020. And so this is where we can get a little bit interactive. Tucked into that service program I just mentioned, you should have a little paper template of a flame. If you don't have that or a golf pencil, please wave a hand now so an usher can bring them to you. These are your personal lights to carry forward. As I continue speaking, please consider those sparks which sustained you in 2019 and add them to your flame. You could write words or phrases. Mine would be things like fresh avocados and texts from my brother. Don't worry, no one is going to be checking these. They are just for you to bring home, tuck away, and remind yourself of the lights which are with you. It feels important now to acknowledge that what might be one person's light might be another person's heartache. You might be allergic to avocados or estranged from your brother. Neither of us is at fault for this, but it does mean this process is very personal and calls for careful consideration. I also speak from the compassion that comes with personal experience when I say that if your night lately has been very, very dark, that you found your way here by some very powerful light. Don't be afraid to recognize that perhaps your main light has been your own courage to hang on. We are all illuminated by that kind of strength around us, whether we're aware of it or not. Oh, we are out of flames. Cultivating resilience requires cultivating honest awareness. Acknowledging points of pain and struggle is vital and valuable. Pretending everything is okay has never taken anyone far in a healthy life. As Frank Herbert said, knowing there's a trap is the first step in evading it. Pain is only a piece of the picture, however, and we are minimizing our own avenues for resilience if we are not also honestly aware of our resources, blessings, and attributes. In 2016, my cousin Charles McKeever hiked the Pacific Coast Trail from bottom to top. A teacher and writer, Chuck recorded many of his experiences during and after that life-changing journey of 2,650 miles on foot. He continues to write about what he left behind, what lay ahead, and what he carried with him, and I often find myself inspired by those reflections. Though I will never have the opportunity to follow in his footsteps, quite literally, I do experience my own journeys and ordeals year by year, as do we all. In a recent update, Chuck offered the following memory. It is a fact of life that some people's coping mechanism for fear is to try to make others feel it too. This is also rampant on trail. The old man came through the swinging door of the general store, worn blue flannel shirt, knife clipped to jeans pocket, big hands that had spent a lifetime working hard. He walked with the air of someone who is used to being listened to. Forrester is impassable, he said brusquely to the woman behind the counter. Any hiker with a lick of sense is getting out at Cottonwood Pass and skipping ahead. Bad snow and ice up there. He paid for a soda and looked at me sidelong as the cashier rang him up. It felt like he was trying to figure out if I was one of those hikers with a lick of sense, for it was clearly apparent that I was a hiker. My own uniform, puffy jacket torn in a few places, wicking shirt, and a month's worth of untidy beard made that much obvious. As the store's door chimed his exit, I brought a pint of ice cream to the counter and smiled at the cashier, trying not to look like someone who was planning to ignore the advice I'd just had directed at me. I was more brash at 25 than I am now. That much is clear just looking back at these words and reflecting on the kind of person it would take to write them. My own fear was great enough without other people pouring fuel on it, and I think my resentment toward them, my need to prove them wrong, also helped power me through some tough stretches in the Sierras. But I don't wish to sully the occasion by dragging out the negatives. I find hopelessness and misanthropy boring in equal measure. Instead, I like to think about the other people out there, the good ones, the ones who've flown all over the country to see each other since, the ones I'm in a book club with, the other hikers who do like getting political, and I can talk about unions and strikes and injustice with. I like to think about the taste of water in alpine creeks and beneath lava springs, the tartness of huckleberries found by the trailside, the way some mornings brought the sight of elk grazing gently on hillsides, and others brought spiderwebs so strong I could hear them break as I walked through them. Here's what I was thinking a few days before the end. I will be gone from these woods eventually, at last and too soon, and I will leave them in the hope of returning after doing something to make my small corner of the world a little better than I left it. That's not required, but it's often asked, and I think it's worth aspiring to. But for now, there is a little time to still be present in this place. Time to read a book in the scant shade of a fir tree. Time to listen to the whistling of marmots and the cries of pikas as I briefly intrude on their comings and goings. Time to retreat within myself as the rain comes down unabated and see what I'm made of beneath the surface. I am, after all, only a guest in this world, but that doesn't mean I can't help tidy up the house. As we close out the holiday season and step onto the chill slopes of the new year, I wish for all of us enough time for honest introspection. May we know clearly those elements of nature, our communities, and ourselves which bring resilience into our lives. May we recognize those concrete sources of goodness which greet us in subtle ways, more powerful than nebulous ideas like hope and cheer, more reachable than enormities like fame and perfection. Excuse me. This season, I don't want to put out the candles and put away the holiday lights. I aspire to keep them lit, to carry these lights forward, and to use their brightness and warmth to help me make my small corner of the world a better place. I invite you to join me, and if you ever misplace your lights, there will always be some waiting for you in this place. Let us go brightly forward into the new year.